Members of the Select Committee of Parliament on the National Social Security Fund interfaced with the Minister for Gender, Labour and Social Development, Betty Amongi, and officials from the Uganda Retirement Benefits Authority separately. The 6 billion shillings that was meant for mobilization of new contributors and ensuring compliance was a major point of inquiry. The MPs questioned how the request was originated and whether it was ever approved.
The objectives, the strategic initiatives you had proposed for the 6 billion, they involved items that had already been catered for in the budget. That is according to them. And in this letter that they wrote to you.
But still in your very letter you say, the MD refused to implement the decision of the board and minister, and even with guidance and explanation. So you read your letter and see. And then you go ahead and say that still you had another meeting about the same, but still until his contract expired, the MD had not provided for the money and the activities in the NSSF budget.
It was observed that it would be inappropriate for the minister to originate the reallocation on the grounds that the proper procedure provides for the NSSF management to develop the budget for approval by the board and finally the minister. According to Amongi, the NSSF budget already had an allocation of 5.6 billion shillings and she only directed for its realignment, which she argued was within her powers.
If we are being found irregular here, let me put on record that Parliament be found irregular. If my power given by Parliament to amend or not amend, to reprioritize under NSS Act, I did it and it is irregular, I call on this committee to also investigate why Parliament varies national budget.
Information about whether the money was released or not remains sketchy. While Amongi says it was approved, the Board of Directors, led by the chairperson, Dr. Peter Kimbowa, has denied ever approving the funds.
Minister is referring to of 25th November is a meeting that took place in Serena in a one-day retreat of the board. We were simply giving the minister a strategic overview. And that's what the meeting was about. It wasn't about anything else. There wasn't anything like a board meeting and we are approving things.
One of the presentations which was on our board was actually the work plan for the 6 billion. And I remember in that meeting, we say as a result of this letter, we cannot consider the presentation on the work plan.
The MPs hinted at the possibility that the NSSF management, led by Richard Byarugaba, refused to approve the budget, and this has sparked a conflict between the fund and the minister. Amongi admitted that she deferred a 400 billion shillings budget for the acquisition of land at Nachigalala and another $1 million, approximately 370 billion shillings, for the construction of a specialized labor court for the judiciary as part of corporate social responsibility.
Because I asked them for a due diligence report, they didn't give me. I asked them for titles of the land, they didn't give me. I asked for a CGV report, they didn't give me. They just wanted me to put 400 billion. So I said, I'm not approving until you give due diligence report. So Mnange, sometimes you do things, but you might be crossing people's path. You do things on your own.
In an earlier interface with the Uganda Retirement Benefits Authority, the MPs were shocked to learn that NSSF is not in possession of the title deed for the land on which its headquarters at Workers' House is seated. They were told that the title deed is in the possession of Alcon, a company which was contracted to build Workers' House, but ended up in a long-running dispute that was settled by the Supreme Court in favor of the fund.
There were issues regarding the construction with Alcon, and that duplicate certificate of title with agreements in place was given to Alcon as security. However, when Alcon exited, they did not return that duplicate to NSSF.
Alcon used that title as security and did some work for us. It means it had, like the way you borrow from a bank, they first put a caveat on your title. Now, did Alcon lift that caveat on the title?
No.
The MPs also learned that 4 plots of land in Temangalo have never been transferred to the fund and are in the names of Amos Nzeyi. Uganda Retirement Benefits Regulatory Authority declared that the management of the fund had decided to keep the title deeds in-house in violation of the requirement for them to be held in custody by entities licensed by the regulator. Jackson Onyango, NTV at Parliament.